The Austrian national team have had very little to boast about during their history, but in the 1930s they were one of the best teams in the world. The Wunderteam, as they were known, were one of the first great national sides under the management of Hugo Meisl and played football years ahead of their time. This is a story of the Austrian Wunderteam. The Austrian game experienced a huge moment in the 1920s after Hugo Meisl played a part in an Austrian league being set up. Meisl was an administrator for the Austrian FA and had also taken charge of the Austrian team during the 1912 Olympics. Following a draw with Hungary in the build-up to the tournament, Meisl was disappointed with his team's performance and asked the referee for advice on how he could improve his team. The referee, James Halcroft, suggested that they needed a professional coach to help develop the team, and put forward his friend, Jimmy Hogan. Hogan and Meisl would go on to be a duo. Hogan would help teach Meisl the importance of ground control, keeping the ball on the floor through neat passing play, and this was further hammered home by the philosophies of Meisl's other friends in Herbert Chapman and Vittorio Pozzo. Meisl would take charge of the Austrian team in 1913 and also help develop the Mitropa Cup, the predecessor to the European Cup. Meisl advocated for professionalism in the 1920s as he developed an impressive team. Meisl's Austria would play quick, passing football, and a key part of their game was based around attacking fullbacks, a centre-half who would advance upfield, and a false number 9. By the 1930s, their side was in full force. Austria were renowned as one of the best sides in Europe, with the core of Meisl's team being based around centre-forward Matthias Sindelar, attacker Josef Bichan, and a captain who could play anywhere in Walter Nausch. Their 5-player front line would have players constantly interchanging positions, and their style was known as the Danubian Whirl. They would not enter the first edition of the World Cup, but they became the first side from mainland Europe to defeat Scotland in 1931. An ironic result, given how much Austria were influenced by the Scottish style of play. They would win the Central European Championships, the predecessor to European Championships we know now, when they defeated Italy 4-2 in the 1932 final. In the build-up to the 1934 World Cup, things seemed to fall into place. They trounced teams, including 5-0 and 6-0 wins over Germany, a 6-0 win over Switzerland, and an 8-2 win over Hungary. They entered the 1934 World Cup as one of the favourites. A 3-2 win over France after extra time sent them to the quarter-finals, which was followed by a 3-2 win over Switzerland. A semi-final would take place against hosts Italy. Austria had high hopes, but the poor weather hindered their passing play, and Italy took the lead in controversial circumstances when the Austrian goalkeeper was pushed over the line. The referee was accused of bias towards the hosts, and sadly, Austria were unable to defeat him or the Italians. Austria crashed out at the semi-finals, whilst Italy would go on to win the tournament. 2 years later, Austria had another shot at glory, once again facing Italy in the gold medal match of the 1936 Olympics. Unfortunately, it would be the Italians tasting gold again, defeating the Austrians 2-1 after extra time. Austria had come so near, yet so far once again, and things would go from bad to worse. In 1937, Hugo Meisl, the man who had done so much for Austrian football, died at the age of 55 following a heart attack. Without the man who had taken them so close to the top of the world, Austria fell apart. Austria initially qualified for the 1938 World Cup, but ended up withdrawing following the annexation of Austria by Nazi Germany. It was decided a friendly match would be played between Germany and Austria that year, partially as a morale booster, but also so that Germany coach Sepp Herberger could see who the best Austrian players were that he could now include in his Germany side. The match was meant to be a celebration of Austria's return to the Reich, but Matthias Sindelar didn't get the memo. Sindelar demanded that Austria played in their national colours of red and white, threatening to not play otherwise, and it seemed as though he was deliberately missing chances in the first half, seen by many as a means of mocking the Germans. It was rumoured that the officials demanded the two teams draw the game, but Sindelar would finally score in the 62nd minute, and joyfully danced in celebration in front of the Nazi officials. Austria got a second, and many saw it as one final act of defiance to their annexation. Austrian football was torn to shreds soon afterwards, with clubs' results stricken from the record, and many of the players had to find new jobs. Clubs were disbanded and reorganised, with any Jewish influence on clubs removed, as they were resurrected as part of Nazi Germany's football. 9 Austrians would be part of the Germany squad in 1938, but they went out at the first round, with many Austrians in the squad understandably unhappy. Austria would not play again until after the Second World War, and their star Matthias Sindelar was found dead alongside his girlfriend in his flat in 1939 from carbon monoxide poisoning. Many feel his death was due to his actions in a friendly the previous year. It was a tragic end to a team that were a whisker away from conquering the world. One is left to wonder what might have happened had Hugo Meisl survived, or the referee not been biased towards the Italians. They may never have been champions of the world, but Hugo Meisl's and Jimmy Hogan's Austrian side certainly championed a beautiful way of playing the beautiful game.